Friday morning conversation with
Keith Urban.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm good.
We hit right when you were
start
playing
writing
a
a
chord
song?
on something there.
Yeah.
When you're at home and you have instruments all over, and I feel like your mind is just always, at least when I've been around, you're just creating all the time. Will you just grab an instrument and be like, oh, I got to get this out of my system, or no? Or at home, not so much, but if you go down into like the studio, that's where you do that.
Anywhere, you know.
Do you have instruments strategically placed like near your toilet where you can just grab it and be like, I got a little song idea here?
I don't have one in the toilet,
No,
buddy.
man.
No.
Because if I could play like you, I think I'd have one everywhere.
You would just never leave the toilet. That's what you're saying, right? Yeah.
Now,
You just hang in there.
I do a lot of
with
good
your
work
guitar.
in the shower.
Right. Yes, ideas come in the shower
Why do you think that is?
because you're doing something you don't have to think about, and it liberates you, and it's a good feeling.
Because I feel like I get my best, at least ideas I feel are strong, are in the shower, or like ideas for like comedy bits or songs for like comedy songs. I'm like, dang, but then what if I'm just like sitting on the couch? I don't have that same like freedom for some reason.
No, I hear you.
Where will you put yourself if you're like, all right, I've got like 3 days to create or think? Like, where will you put yourself to really make sure you can get the best out of you?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm more creative in the morning. I don't really get creative crazy late at night, unless we're touring. And then I find I come off stage and I've got a lot of ideas. I'd love to get in a studio sometimes after a gig.
Do you ever line that up
great.
or is it something you just feel randomly so you can't really line a studio up after a show?
Oh, you can, but I haven't done it. I have done it before, but I haven't done it in a long time. But sometimes that's when you're in the flow, you know, you've just come off stage, everything's flowing.
When you're on stage, do you ever get a couple of ideas for a song? You're like, I have to remember this. I'm playing a song that everybody knows, but I just had a great idea. Would you ever jot something down or talking to be like, hey, remember the idea here? I got a song called Love on a Butterfly. Or would that ever happen?
What's the title?
Love on a Butterfly.
Love on a Butterfly.
Yeah,
I like that.
Play along. I'll sing it for you. I was floating early one morning. I was reaching for the sky. I didn't know that what I had was love on a butterfly.
Oh, it's
Thank
so
you.
sad.
That's
Wow.
right.
It's- And it just flew away.
And then it died. No, it got
Oh, it
swatted
died.
and died.
Oh,
Yes.
my.
Right.
Quick
right,
song.
right.
Does that ever happen where you're up there and you're
quite the
like,
metaphor there,
I
Bobby.
got a great idea, but I got to save it?
At sound check, it happens a lot. Not in a gig. I've never had it happen in a gig. It's too many things going on in a gig.
Will you ever play at a sound check and kind of work through a song that you're writing and have
Yeah.
somebody record it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Any of the good ones come from that?
I think a lot of riffs have come from that, yeah.
Define a riff. Like a guitar riff or like a vocal? Ma-na-na-na-na-na-na.
All the above, vocal riff, yeah, melody of some sort, either on guitar, singing, something like that.
After all of these awards and years of performing, it still feels to me that when you do it, like you still find like such purpose in performing.
Right.
Has that gone up or down, or does it, as you move along in your career, are you like super excited to go perform and others not so much? Like you've just done so much.
I feel the same as I always did. Like literally zero difference as far as getting on stage and playing. I don't feel any difference.
How is that possible?
It just is. I mean, literally. Because where I grew up in Australia, playing all the pubs and clubs where you walk out to a bunch of crossed arms and people going, all right, what do you do? Why should I care about this? You know, and you got to come out and get people engaged. That's just in my DNA. So it's never changed.
But
Crazy.
just indulge me for a second. I understand that, but you've been Entertainer of the Year, multiples. You've done it all, and there never becomes a point where some of that shakes off and you become a little jaded. Do you have to recheck yourself?
God, no.
Really?
No. I forget everything in a really good, organic way. I don't push it off. I never think about it. I'm always thinking about the next thing, like always.
That is true. I can, on a very small level, vouch for that, because I remember once being with you and you're like, this is my album 3 albums from now. But I'm like, you're just putting this one out right now. You're like, yeah, but I got this working over here. So when you're putting out a project and we're hearing it, you're already 3 steps ahead working on the next thing.
Sometimes, but then those songs don't. And then, you go to make the next album and those songs don't resonate the way they did a year before.
Do you wish you could go back? I'm gonna actually put you on this. If you could go back and re-record one of your big hits.
Oh, that's a good question.
Like, because you hear it now and you're like, ugh. Like, what song would you go back and creatively transform?
Wow, that's a great question, Bobby. I don't think about re-recording anything. I just think about certain songs that didn't get to be singles, which was a bummer.
What would be that song?
Off the last album, a song called "Live With" that I really hoped was going to be a single, but
What do you really hope? You're Keith Urban. If you wanted to be a single, you walk in that office, you put your foot down,
right? Yeah.
And you say, if you don't make this a single,
yeah,
I'm not going to have an accent anymore. And you threaten them with something that they didn't see coming at all.
right. So if I threatened you with how long it takes songs to get played, what would happen? What would your reaction be?
Not my problem. That's what I would say. But I would think at this point, when you have a favorite song, you could just say, I want this to be a single, and they'd have to listen.
Yeah, except sometimes you're on to the next thing, you know. It's I know when we had a song called "You Look Good in My Shirt," it was going to be the next single off that album. And we had the first single off the next record ready to go. So you go, well, do we come with the fifth single or do we come with the first single off the next record? And so that song just misses its shot.
And you're probably so excited about the next project that you, more times than not, just go, let's just go to the next one, right?
Yeah, it's unusual right now, isn't it? I mean, as far as where songs go, how they live, how they get discovered, what's classified a hit song these days, there's so many metrics for all of that. It's not a straight line like it used to be.
When you talk about singles and, you know, you would like this song, did you ever have a song the label said, hey, this is the song? And you're like, oh, man, I like it, but I don't think it's a single. And then they went with it and it crushed. And you were like, wow, I missed on that one because it's awesome.
Blue Ain't Your Color isn't, it's not a song that I didn't think was going to be a single, but I had no idea it would resonate the way it did. No idea. And the label loved it.
And so do you just go, okay, this is what I do with my bosses. You know what? I'm going to do this one because you would like me to do it. But the next time I ask for one, like you owe me one. Do you ever do that with them?
They always default to letting me sequence things the way that I've always done it, really right from the beginning. But I'm not always right. I get it wrong a lot. I don't know, you know.
Interesting.
You know, with your show, do you do bits that you go, oh, this is going to crush today, and you do it, and it's like, okay.
I think I approach them all like, okay, and then we just see what happens.
Right.
You know, yes, there are some times where I'm like, this
But
is
you must be
really
surprised things that don't work.
I would think I can't. So here's the difference. In the studio, I can't really tell because I can't see the people. But when I'm doing stand-up,
Right.
and I'm like, this bit is so funny.
Right.
I will write it and be like, this is going to crush. It's going to crush here. It's going to crush here. And then I do it, and there's not a peep. That, to me, stuns because I'm like, but I've done 400 shows, and
Right.
at this point, I feel like I can understand what's funny and what's not. And then there will be times where I don't think a joke is that funny, or it's just a throwaway line, and they will die laughing.
Yeah.
And I'll make a note there, like, oh, do that again.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Okay,
I
so when
understand
you
at that
make a
point.
note, do that again. When you do it again, is it as funny?
No.
No.
Never.
I know.
Because whatever it was that I had then.
Spontaneity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe the
Yeah.
tone,
Yeah.
maybe how flippantly I talk. It's never quite as funny.
You know, there's a great expression that says, the only real music is when a baby first cries. After that, the baby knows the mom will come running. It's all show business.
It's all.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's the truth in spontaneity of something. That's why I think every show has to have constant spontaneity flowing, not myopic repetition of the night before, because it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And we've all been to shows where we're like, that feels a little phoned in.
As someone watching, like a fan?
Yeah,
Or,
yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
Before I got into this art, I don't think I ever felt that. I thought every show was awesome, but now I can see it. I think because I'm so inside of it, I would be like, oh, they're not feeling it right now.
Right.
But then I would talk to like other people, and they're like, oh, no, this is the greatest show ever. It's a weird dynamic now watching a show for me. Because I
Right.
can't really, which is why I don't go to many. The last 5 shows I've been to were all yours, and just watching in your window, just watching you play at home. That's all I do. It's the only show
That was
I really
you
like.
out
Yeah,
there.
that was me.
I saw the bushes rustling. And
Let's talk about Wild Hearts for a second, because here we go. We got another one here. I was talking to Brad Tersey, one of the writers on the song, and he was complimenting you so much. as a songwriter because he said, we had this song, him and two of my friends, Eric Pasley and Jen Wayne.
Yeah.
Like we'd written this song and sent it to Keith, and Keith was like, love the hook and the melody, and you can tell me if this is all true or not, but the verses, some of them don't fit me right now. And you were like, can I rewrite it? And he said, yeah. And then I asked him, I put him on the spot. I said, did he rewrite it or did he add a couple words? And I knew what his answer was going to be. And he goes, no, he rewrote all the verses. And so when that happens and someone sends you a song and you go, dang, like what about the song drew you in? And then what did you feel that made you want to change up some of the lyrics?
I got sent the song by Roxy King at Universal, and I listened to it, and I went, I like it, but it's not staying with me, so I passed on the song. And about 2 weeks later, I woke up one morning singing this chorus of a song, and I go, what is that melody? And it was Wild Hearts. So I got the song back out, listened to it again, and I went, man, I love this chorus, but the verses don't speak to me. But it's a song about chasing your dreams, right? Going after it no matter what, against all odds. The verses probably need to be a bit more autobiographical for me to make the chorus land properly for me. So I called Roxy and I said, do you think the writers would be okay if I rewrote the verses? I've never done it in my life, ever. Never ever done this. And they were game for it. So they sent me the track with no words. And then I just wrote the verses.
When you write the verses and it's coming from your story, your mind, your heart, do they just fall out of you at that point, or do you just spend do you spend extra time because you're also working with someone else's canvas?
They just had a good structure. So it was just about being truthful. So, one morning I literally just hit play, got my little pad out, and I'm just writing. And I thought, well, if it's about my particular journey, where did that start? And I went, well, probably when my mum and dad took me to see Johnny Cash when I was 5. Start there. It was like, oh, saw the Man in Black, spotlight in the air, boom, and then it just flowed.
You saw Johnny Cash at 5 years old. Now, how much of that do you actually remember?
I remember, well, the images I remember are kind of in the song. I remember this really the loudest. I mean, I'm only 5. I've been around a lot of people in these big settings before. It's like 5,000-seat hall, drunk, rowdy, loud, fun people, like really working class, where I grew up. That was exciting. Going into the hall, I remember it being deafening in the hall. Now, I don't know where our seats were, probably up the nosebleeds. And then I remember it going pitch black and this big spotlight coming across our heads. And when you're 5, that beam is surreal. I've never seen anything like it. And then it's hitting this guy up on the stage, everyone's screaming, going crazy. And then I remember looking up at my dad and seeing the way that he was looking at this guy on stage. And probably, I might take a child psychologist to confirm it, probably wondering, what have I got to do to get my dad to look at me that way? So that's why that line in there, heard 1,000 screams, saw my daddy stare, is in the song.
Do you know a lot of Johnny Cash stuff? Since that was such an imprint, did it, as a young kid, I want to also learn some stuff from Johnny Cash?
I learned a few of his songs, for sure, but I mean, that voice is so unique. And I didn't have that, not when I started singing and playing at 6, 7, 8 years old. I sounded like Dolly Parton. I did. I could sing in her key, so I sang all of her songs.
What was your front yard like as a kid? I wonder what you think back, and it's hard for me to think and remember anything earlier than 5 years old. That's probably where it starts for me. But what was the front yard like at your house?
I always think we confuse memories with photographs and vice versa. We moved around all the time. Never owned a house, just rented and moved from house to house to house all the time.
So it is a constant change of a front.
Yeah.
Do you have a home that you feel like is if I were what's the house you consider yourself that you grew up in? Can you picture that house? Or were you moving so much?
We moved all the time. I went to, I think, 6 different schools in about 5 years.
Dang, 6 schools. So did you learn how to, moving so much, meeting a lot of new people, you constantly had to make new friends. Did that make you withdraw more into music, or did it create some sort of, you can now blend in with anyone and you can now kind of assimilate, no problem?
I think it was a bit of both. And the guitar was really helpful. I mean, you know, it's a physical thing. It's like this security blanket right there in front of you, this little protective shield. So it was helpful for that. And it had mixed benefits. When you're a boy in a school and you play the guitar and sing and have long hair like I did, it's a mixed blessing.
Were you a small kid?
Yeah.
When did you grow?
Tuesday.
Yeah,
Last Tuesday.
I felt that one. I kind of set you up for that one right there. Yes. So here's the three things. I want to know what makes you happy: personal, professional, and then you get kind of a grab bag. You can pick whatever you want. But so what makes you genuinely happy right now, Keith Urban, who we see has it all, right? But seeing it isn't always real life, right? It definitely isn't at all. But what makes you happy right now at this stage of your career and your life?
All of it. The balance that I've found and can maintain better than ever between work and home life, because it's complicated for anybody. Family, work, different. You've only got so much of your time. Where does it go? How much do you give to writing songs, being with your family, touring, doing this, you know? So I think being able to balance that better than I used to.
So what's the key then? Because that's honestly the biggest struggle that I have right now.
Right.
Been married a year basically, and my struggle is figuring out how to balance, because I've never had to balance.
Right. Exactly.
I've been extremely selfish in that it's just always been about me.
Sure.
Not that I want to keep everything, but it's like I only have to worry about me my whole life.
Yeah.
And now I don't just have to worry about me. It's worry. I have to actually care and like want to lift the other person up, right? My wife. So what's that advice you would give me then? Because balance is tough for me.
Yeah. Well, it's never achieved. It's just maintained. And that to me was a shock. Like, you mean I got to do it all the time? Like, I wasn't used to maintaining anything. I was terrible at it.
Yeah, giving stuff up or passing opportunities has been a very difficult one, because I feel like I've just worked so hard to get any opportunity at all, right? Just scratching, clawing, and then you start to get them, and then now I'm going, you know what, maybe I shouldn't do this, because what I can do is I can create some balance. But that's been very difficult. Was that something with you where you're like, dang, I could go do this show or this, but this is also as important because I'm investing into the relationship? Was that just a place that you got to one day and it made sense, or is that still something you constantly have to focus on?
Sort of a bit of everything. I mean, I'm not definitely, stuff goes out of whack, you know, all the time. And I think the only difference is the speed of which I correct things, or the fact that I actually do correct it. You know, that's the thing that's changed in my life. I never used to recognize things falling out of balance. It's terrible.
How do you recognize it now? Because I'm told. That's how I recognize it now. I'm told it's
a
out of
bit of
balance.
that,
I'm sorry, I'm
for
learning,
sure.
yes.
And then you just have this feeling that happens where you start to be with somebody that you go, I can feel like I'm dropping the ball here.
I just feel like it all the time, but it's when I don't, when I'm like, oh, I'm actually doing pretty good here.
Right.
Keith Urban is here.
What have you learned in your year of marriage, Bobby?
That's a great question. A lot. I've learned that I am not the sun, and all the planets revolve around the sun, because I have just been able to be the sun. In good times and bad, meaning as a kid all the way up into my early 20s, I was the surviving son, meaning I had to survive. Everything was about me just trying to have money to pay rent or eat or school clothes, and it was all about what I could. But now I don't have to be the sun anymore. I think a lot of me being the sun in the solar system was forced. Everything had to rotate around me because it was a necessity that I just look out for me or I wouldn't survive.
Yeah.
Now,
that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't have to be the sun anymore, and it is a relief as much as it is difficult at times. So
you can't just turn it off, right?
Correct, and that is uncomfortable sometimes, but it's you don't grow without having some uncomfortability in anything. You just don't. You know, you get taller, it hurts. You learn a skill, it sucks because you're not good at it at first, right? So to grow, you've got to have a little bit of uncomfortability. And that to me has been what I've learned, is that I don't have to do everything by myself. I don't have to be the sun.
Right.
I can roll and be a Batman and Robin. And sometimes I'm Robin, and sometimes I'm Batman, and that's okay. So that's what I'm still learning. So that's the situation there.
I'm picturing you in tights now. It's just a very awkward vision.
You don't have to picture. I'll send you a picture of it. You don't have to picture in your head. Yeah, I've got a couple pictures of me in tights. So.
Please don't.
I have. Listen, we've talked a long time. I know you have your guitar over here, and I don't have anything crazy planned. But would you mind grabbing it for a second?
Yeah.
We were talking about. I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot here because I feel comfortable enough to do that. We were talking on the show maybe a week or so ago about the most romantic songs of all time, not just country, but just period. And I had picked The Pretenders' "I'll Stand By You," which is just a great song.
That's a great song.
Often overlooked. I picked the Beach Boys' "God Only Knows." God only knows.
yeah.
If I were to ask you, and you have your guitar, and if you can think of...
What a great opening line of that song, by the way.
Go ahead.
I may not always love you.
I may not always love you.
As long as there are stars above you, you'll have no need to doubt it. I'll make you sure about it. Oh, my gosh.
Isn't that such a great
Unbelievable
song?
lyric.
So what's the most romantic song, 2 parts, that you have? And just give me a little 15, 20, 30 seconds of it. And then period in your mind.
I've been asked that question before, and did I lose my mic?
No, you're there.
I lost
You may have pulled your headphones
I
out.
lost my headphones. God Only Knows was always my number one song for, I think, one of the greatest love songs ever.
Basically, we're the same person musically. Keith Urban and myself. Oh, you just heard it here.
Heard it.
It's true, because it's just that opening line always grabbed me. I may not always love you. It's like, what? That's a love song? But then when you hear the rest of it, you say, oh my gosh, yeah, that's it. That's the best one ever.
But what about yours now? In your arsenal, you have to look at it objectively. What is your most romantic song?
My most romantic song. Oh, I don't know. I'm maybe not the one to ask that of, right?
But you are, because I'm asking you.
And you're here.
Don't leave me hanging, Keith.
You are.
Don't leave me hanging.
Because we're here.
Yeah. I can't pick one.
Okay.
I can't pick one. I think Making Memories, which I didn't write, that's a Rodney Crowell song, but I think that's one of the most beautiful songs.
Where do you fall in that spectrum of your mind just understanding music? The more you learn, the more you actually can do.
I think it's balance, actually. I think you can know too much and get in the way of creativity.
Are there people that you know, let me ask this a different way, that can hear and figure it out quicker and better than you can? Like just hearing it going, oh, no, and you're like, wow, I can't believe they just figured that out.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Because I did that to you.
Yeah.
And you do that to other people, and you go, wow, I cannot believe they just figured that out by hearing that one time, and then now they know the whole song.
Yeah. No, there's some people have that skill. They just, I mean, in the sessions, you see a lot of the session leaders just charting out the song as it's going.
But you have that skill. Like you just said, let me figure this out, and you
Right.
went all the way up and found it.
Sure.
Do you understand that you have that, or are you so good you don't even know? It's like being good looking. Like maybe you don't even know how good looking you are.
I mean, if you played it back, you'd know I hit a wrong chord here, and within a second found the right one.
I wouldn't know that. Okay, I mean, I played it back. Okay, listen. We're here. Let me say a few things. Wild Heart's going for number 1, which we're pumped about. You guys should go watch Keith's Vegas residency at the Coliseum at Caesar's Palace, May 27th to 29th. Those shows pretty fun? Or do you feel
So fun.
Do you feel restricted because you're in a casino?
No, because that venue is like the perfect combination of like a club, because people are standing, and then there's theater seating, and then it's like an arena size sort of stage. So you get all those 3 venues rolled into one. It's amazing.
Do you ever finish a show, because you're going back on your U.S. leg, it's starting June 17th. Do you ever finish a show and you've been out there for 90 minutes, more than that, and you're like, dang, I wish I could just play another hour?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Do you ever do a show, and this is what happens to me sometimes, where I'm doing comedy and I'm like, man, this has been a tough hour, and I look down, it's only 12 minutes in.
Right.
Where I'm like, oh man, I thought we were a lot further in this. Does that ever happen?
That hasn't happened in a long time. It's the opposite, for sure. It's really hard when you've got to be off stage at a certain time. That's really, really hard for me.
We used to do this bit. I'll end on this. We would go to places. Eddie and I would play shows at festivals, or we'd play our own show, and we'd say, okay, it's curfew. They tell us every minute we play after this, they're gonna fine us.
Right.
But we're lying. But we get the crowd. Do you want us to keep playing?
Oh, that's
It's
great.
gonna cost us $4,000. Ah! We play like 6 more songs. And they're just going absolutely bananas because they think we're spending our own. I don't understand why they like to see us in pain, but they love it. If you'd like to steal that for your show, be like, we're gonna play and they're gonna charge us.
They're real things though. That it really is. You do get fined.
Yeah, not for us though.
A lot
We're
of these
stupid.
places.
Yeah, they don't care about us. Yeah, not for us. Okay, Keith Urban, check out the live shows, dude. It's the best you will see. I've said it many times. Wild Heart's going for #1. What's next after this? Is it another single from the project? Are we moving on?
Brand new
Okay.
brand new music.
You heard it here.
Yeah.
Okay, Keith, great to see you. You're my
You too,
favorite.
Bobby. Always. All
Everybody,
you guys.
everybody
Thank you.
say bye to Keith.
Bye, Keith.
And that's showbiz, baby.